So this is happening. As Ukraine war bogs down, the United States assessments face scrutiny. Really? Wow. The growing conjecture is fueled by previous assessments of other wars like Afghanistan. Afghanistan? What's that again? It sounds familiar. I can only remember things from less than 2 COVIDs ago.
Me too.
So, yeah, it turns out people are getting skeptical of the official assessments of how well the war's going. Isn't that something? The shifting nature of the war in Ukraine has prompted a split among analysts and U.S. lawmakers, with some questioning whether American officials have portrayed the crisis in overly rosy terms, while others say the government in Kiev can win with more help from the West. So again, we were on it from the beginning, and people called this propaganda. You're doing that's Putin propaganda. Jimmy, don't do propaganda. We were right again, just like we were right, because it's not hard to be right about this. I'm not saying we're brilliant. We're far from it. I'm probably one of the dumber guys doing this. And yet I do it better than most of them. Why? Because I tell the truth. Because I have a good bullshit detector. And I don't, everything that the government and the corporate media says is a lie. You just have to find out where it is. So my jumping off point is always that the government is lying. I just have to find out where. Just like we found out what Fauci was lying about. He was lying about everything. Fauci lied about everything. He lied about lying. And again, not one critique of Fauci from anybody else in this space on YouTube. Not one. It's amazing. Except Kim Iverson, who's now left the Hill. The shifting nature of the... we already did this, right? Okay. Hey, come on, lawmakers. Just wait till Zelensky's Vogue spread comes out. It's going to turn it all around. The growing conjecture comes more than 4 months after Russia's invasion and its failure to seize the capital. Russian President Putin has since narrowed the objectives. This is from the Washington Post. So they're saying that President Putin has since narrowed the objectives, focusing on capturing the industrial Donbass region in eastern Ukraine while launching thousands of artillery rounds each day at an outgunned Ukrainian forces. When they say that Russian President Vladimir Putin has since narrowed the objectives, that's weird to me because I remember him clearly stating his objectives, and they weren't the objectives you claim he is now narrowing. Because you're saying his original objective, he's narrowing to his current objectives, which are actually his original objectives, which was to do the Donbass thing. That was, he didn't want to take over Ukraine. That's not what this is about. This is about the Minsk Accords in 2014 and Ukraine not following it and continuing to bomb the Donbass for 8 years straight, killing 14,000 Ukrainians. Ukraine did that. And so his objective was always that. Okay. President Biden, speaking Thursday at a summit of NATO leaders, said the United States is rallying the world to stand with Ukraine. Do you know how the United States is rallying the world? I think by rallying the world, they mean blackmailing small nations on the Horn of Africa. That's their rallying. And is rallying the world to stand with Ukraine and pledge to support the cause as long as it takes. Biden said he did not know how it's going to end. He doesn't even know how the sentence is going to end. Biden said he did not know how it's going to end, but it will not end with the Russian defeat of Ukraine in Ukraine.
What?
That's exactly how it's going to end. U.S. officials acknowledge that as Russian forces have massed firepower, they have gradually seized territory in eastern Ukraine. That includes capturing the strategically important city of Severodonetsk, Donetsk, I can't pronounce those words, in June, and pressing to do the same in its nearby sister city of Lyshansk. I used to go to, what is Lyshansk Fest? Come on. Come on. Russia claimed control of the latter city on Sunday, while Ukrainian officials acknowledged their military had withdrawn. U.S. officials have downplayed the gains, calling them halting and incremental, while highlighting the significant number of Russian military fatalities that have come as a result. Halting and incremental? So steady gains, you mean? That's what you mean? That's what they mean. Yeah, they've downplayed the gains, calling them halting and incremental. You mean steady?
Like how all gains are?
Yeah.
Incremental?
But the Ukrainians have also sustained heavy casualties. Independent estimates indicate each side has seen tens of thousands of soldiers killed and wounded. The Pentagon has largely declined to publicly discuss its assessments of those figures. Why? Because they don't have any, because we know more about Russia's military situation than the people we are giving tens of billions of dollars to. That's why. The Defense Department's overriding concern about discussing the Ukrainian military is balancing what can be said at an unclassified level and not providing an unintended assessment that Putin can use to his advantage, Pentagon spokesperson Tom Brasserizzo said. Yeah, why would Putin have good assessments just because his troops are literally on the ground fighting? We're not going to let him hear our amazing secondhand assessments. We are simply not going to do the battle damage assessment or intelligent work for Russia. However, I think we have discussed what we can when it is knowable, demonstrable, and objective. I don't even know what that means, what he's saying. That sounds like a word salad
to me. It all meant nothing.
Right? It doesn't mean anything, right, Kurt?
It's knowable, you mean...
I don't know.
No. I don't know. Also, it hasn't been demonstrable or objective. They said they were winning, and now they're like, we can't say how bad they're losing.
Yeah, I don't. This is the scrutiny is fueled by U.S. government assessments of other wars. Notably in Afghanistan, where officials habitually glossed over widespread dysfunction and corruption and sidestepped questions of whether battlefield successes were not only achievable but sustainable. So they're pretending at the Washington Post that because we fucked up so hard in Afghanistan that it's making people more skeptical of Ukraine. This is first of all, that's not why people are being skeptical of Ukraine, because of Afghanistan. All right, Afghanistan was a complete debacle, and they lied about it from start to finish. The United States government, I mean. Barack Obama, George Bush, and Donald Trump. And so they're saying, because we effed up so hard again, that's what's making people take a second look at Ukraine. Ukraine was always bullshit from word go, and everyone knows that. I mean, not everyone in corporate media, put it that way, and not everybody in the United States, but everybody who knows anything about it knows that. We've showed you videotape after videotape of smarty pants people who specialize in foreign policy who have known this all along, that the Ukraine strategy, it's not working, that Russia's going to crush them, Ukraine has no chance, this is going to end exactly. We've been saying that since this war started. So now the Washington Post is saying, people are, because of how gifted, now people are, now. Okay. Successive administrations insisted Afghan forces were in the lead. They were in the lead. They couldn't even master jumping jacks in Afghanistan. Did you see the video of the Afghan forces we trained doing $1 trillion jumping jacks incorrectly? $1 trillion. $1 trillion. They can't even teach them how to do fucking jumping jacks correctly. Successive administrations insisted Afghan forces were in the lead, even as their performance was often deeply flawed, and their survival depended on U.S. logistical support and air power. So, really, people are shocked that the United States just lies about, they're lying about another war in the same way they lie about every war?
I brought this up, Afghanistan, on Sid and Adam's show, and they said, whataboutism to me. Like, don't bring our criminal history into this crime.
Don't show me an example of them doing this exact thing before. That's whataboutism. No, that's not whataboutism. That's called logical evidence that reveals what the real game is. Jesus H, you gotta be kidding me. Here's Democracy Now! The Afghanistan papers. Docs show how Bush, Obama, and Trump lied about brutality and the corruption of the war. Hey, Democracy Now! Try this. Take a minute, if you will, and see if this Afghanistan thing that you reported on reminds you of maybe any current thing you might be forgetting to report on at Democracy Now! Right now. Okay. Several observers said what the Biden administration claims about the war in Ukraine appears to be accurate, but that the Pentagon sometimes withholds information that would be unflattering to Ukrainian partners or highlight limitations on U.S. support. Oh, no shit? They sometimes hide unflattering shit about the war they're losing?
Ukraine's ass doesn't look good in the...
Oh, Kurt's freezing on me.
It's okay.
Kurt, you froze. Ukraine's ass what?
Doesn't look good with this information. It's unflattering to Ukraine's figure.
Corey Shaky, Director of Foreign and Defense Policy Studies at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, said that with Ukraine as opposed to Afghanistan, the Pentagon lacks the incentive to perennially say the military that it is supporting is turning a corner.
They can't bring themselves to lie about the jumping jacks in this case.
That's what they're saying. They're saying we can't bring ourselves to lie that hard. Like we just got done lying for 20 years about Afghanistan. I wish the writer would have clarified if this guy Corey Shaky said this with a straight face. The Pentagon lacks the incentive to perennially say the military that it is supporting is turning a corner. The Pentagon lacks incentive.
This is what higher education is for, to teach you how to talk in this jerk-off way.
Right? God. Others, more wary of U.S. involvement in Ukraine, see Washington's assessments as incomplete for different reasons. Benjamin Friedman, a policy director at Defense Priorities, he said that the Russian forces... that seems weird. Oh, wait. Said that...
Stated objective of Ukraine.
That's right. Said that the stated objectives of Ukraine to push Russian forces out seems increasingly unrealistic, and that the Biden administration must do more to press Ukraine to negotiate with Russia and strive for a political settlement. This reminds me, I'm starting a new publication called Shit We've Known for 2 Years. It's called Shit We've Known for 2 Years magazine, and it's the magazine about shit we've all known, but we're going to talk about it 2 years later. So this policy guy, he's figured out that Ukraine needs to negotiate their way out of this. No shit. Isn't it weird that a pothead comedian said this in his garage when the war started? But now this guy's finally for Benjamin Friedman, this policy director, he's finally figured it out. After they got the $54 billion grifted to Ukraine in the military-industrial complex, now he's like, you know what? I think Jimmy Dore was right.
Yeah, I think it is weird. I think it's almost downright conspiratorial.
He goes on. Nobody wants them to cede territory, or hardly anyone wants them to. What? I mean, no one. I mean, hardly anyone wants them to cede territory, except anyone that knows anything about the situation. But we're working to make more people not know every day. So nobody wants them to cede territory, or hardly anyone wants them to cede territory. But you have to assess the situation honestly and say that you're trading peace for territory. I think we should be doing more to pressure them, and I think we're sort of doing a disservice, not just to regular Ukrainians, but to a lesser extent, Americans and everyone else who is suffering economic problems because of the war. It's good to see this Friedman fucking guy, this head of... Literally, this shit that we've been saying since this war started, he's finally figured it out. And the guy I'm sure he gets paid six figures to say this shit.
Well, it's finally okay for him to say it, right? That's got to be what it is.
That's what it is.
There's no way they don't know.
Everyone knew. Everyone knew this is how it was going to end up. Except the American voter and the corporate media in the United States. Representative Ro Khanna, charlatan and fake progressive, said that while and pro-war, he's pro-war. So Ro Khanna tried to head fake you into being against the Yemen genocide that the United States is helping commit, but he's very pro-war. He's pro-Ukraine war. He's pro $54 billion to Ukraine. So that's who Ro Khanna really is. And his wife, they have lots of stock in all things bad, and I'm going to guess weapons manufacturers. Mm-hmm. Representative Ro Khanna said that while he applauds the administration's objective in stopping Russia from seizing Kiev, the United States cannot resign itself to a prolonged, never-ending conflict that is wreaking havoc on the American economy and the global economy. Really, after you voted for the $54 billion, now maybe we got to stop it. Really, Ro? Fucking, he's such a con man. Ro Khanna.
He's like, look, I'll do my best to prolong it, but I can't make any promises.
He is such a con man, and I felt for his con for a while. I believe we should declare victory for the president's efforts in standing up for a sovereign Ukraine. We should say we won. This is Ro Khanna talking. The Russians lost. They did not achieve their fundamental objective, Khanna said. No, they did, Ro.
Shh, he's trying to give him a way out. Shh, don't say. Maybe he can give him
Democrats are not resigned to support Ukraine at all costs, he said. People don't want to see a resigned attitude that this is just going to go on as long as it's going to go on. What is the plan on the diplomatic front? Well, the time for that kind of questions, fuckface, is when you voted to give them $54 billion. Now, after you did it, now you're going to act like you have integrity and a conscience? You don't, Ro. You don't. And I'm high and I see through you. As war nears fifth month, Blinken, that's Antony Blinken, Blinken keeps Russian diplomats at arm's length. They're not negotiating. They want this war to keep being dragged out. That's why the Biden administration is not negotiating with their Russian counterparts. The subheadline is the Secretary of State hasn't spoken to any senior Russian officials for the entirety of the frickin' war. Some veteran diplomats say that's a mistake. You think?
Hardly any.
You think?
Hardly anyone.
Because this isn't about anything Antony Blinken and Joe Biden's. They are just as big. They're bigger liars than Trump. And because the media helps them lie. The media didn't help Trump lie, but the media helps Joe Biden lie all the time. Joe Biden is the heavyweight champion of liars. And he out-racists Trump.
He's even like not good at it, but it's like the fight, like I don't even, he just does it a lot. He hasn't gotten better at it.
Right. Okay, so there you go. They're pretending now that they're upset that the hey, I don't think this Ukraine war is going as well as you guys are leading us on to believe.
I don't want to say this, but it reminds me of Afghanistan a little bit.
And Vietnam. And Iraq. And Libya.
It reminds me of one long thing my whole life.
My whole life. That's exactly right. Jesus Christ. Come see our stand-up comedy. We'll be in Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, lots more. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets.